as a fee-only financial advisor for over 20 years, these are the 5 secrets, the 5 commonalities that I've seen that happy retirees have. And be sure to stay to the end, because I've got an extra one that I'm going to share with you. And it's the number 1 secret, and I want to make sure you know about it. Okay, number 1 is to stay healthy, right? I don't care how much money you have. If you start losing your health, it's super hard to enjoy your retirement, right? So there's only so much that we can do. There's only so much that's under our control, but do what you can, right? We can all work out in one form or another most days. We can all try to eat in as healthy of a way as we can, right? We can take the time to cook. We can take the time to shop. We can invest in healthy foods as opposed to, something that's convenient in fast food. It's all too simple to grab fast food. And, it's one of these things that, and it's one of the reasons it makes it hard to stay healthy, is if you miss a couple days, it's not a problem. But I encourage you to prioritize your health, not just in retirement, but before retirement. It's never too soon to start on that. As we get older, we lose muscle mass. As we get older, our cardio health becomes more important. As we get older, some of the bad eating habits that we might have developed when we were kids. I mean, when I was 20, I had lousy eating habits. So the older you get, the more sensitive your body is to all of that. So number 1 is stay healthy. Okay, number 2 is to retire on your schedule. Most people think when they retire is going to be up to them. But you know what? Over half of the people report that they didn't have say until when they retired. I mean, in some ways they did, but roughly 30% of the people say that they retired early. They retired before they were planning because either they lost their health, that's about 30%, and another 30% say they retired early really because the company came to them and said, you know what? Unfortunately, it's time. We need you to be thinking about retiring. So they kind of felt like they were forced out. So if you can retire on your schedule, I just think it's easier mentally to feel like you were in control of that decision, as opposed to, your health going bad, kind of feeling like a victim, like, I got unlucky. Or something happens at work, and maybe you've been at that company for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and that can leave a bad taste in your mouth. It can be hard to transition and to keep your positive mental attitude. So I do encourage you to think about when it makes sense for you to retire, and retire on your schedule. When I was a kid, I used to always wonder why these professional athletes that were making tens of millions of dollars, why would they ever retire early if the team was willing to sign them up for another year, another contract? And why I don't totally get it, because tens of millions of dollars is a lot of money. The older I get, the more I get most of it. I don't get all of it, admittedly, but I do get most of it. Okay, number 3, super important. Find your purpose. And find your purpose before you retire, right? These are the secrets to happy retirees, secrets to your happy retirement. And finding your purpose and what it's going to be. You've probably had a common purpose in your life. There's probably been a theme associated with it. Maybe not the same company, maybe not the same industry, but as Steve Jobs says, looking back, you can connect the dots and say, this is how it all made sense. There was a theme to your purpose, your work, the things that you were proud of, and you were proud to say, you know what, I dedicated a significant part of my life to making this happen, and I'm proud of that. And you want to continue that. That doesn't stop when you retire. You want to continue that. If you haven't read the book yet, I recommend it often. It's called Strength to Strength by Arthur Brooks, and it talks about that. And whether you're 30 years old, 40 years old, or 70 years old, it's a great book to read, and there's something in it for everybody. And if you're thinking you want to retire in the next year, in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, I think it's super, super valuable, and I encourage you to get it. This is This is not a plug for the book. Arthur Brooks doesn't sponsor me. It's just, the book is just that good. Okay, so that was number 3, find a purpose. Number 4 is to have a plan, okay? And admittedly, I'm biased, right? I'm a fee-only financial advisor. That's part of what I do for the families I work with is help them come up with a plan, to work with them to develop a plan so that they know, okay, are we on track as we're saving for retirement, and when can we actually pull the trigger? When is it our option? Because financially we have met the number, if you will. Plus, hopefully everybody should have a buffer. But as you retire, I think the plan is even more important, because certainly you don't want to overspend, right? And at least the families I'm working with, they have a tendency to underspend. It's not unusual for a family that's been saving 15 or 20% a year to say, okay, I want, X dollars a year in retirement. And you know what? They start saving 15 to 20% of that because that's just what they've always done. And that's part of why you work with a financial advisor is, so we can nudge you and say, no, this is your money. Go spend it. Go spend it. Now is the time to spend it. You're healthy, you're active, you're excited about retirement. Go do it. Go tackle the world. Go spend this money. And you want to make sure that you're not overspending, but you also want to make sure that you're not sacrificing unnecessarily. And that's what I see people do. And I think that's the value of having a plan, is you don't want to sacrifice unnecessarily. You sacrifice too much to save the money. You've worked too hard to save that money, and you don't want to make the mistake of not spending it, particularly in the early years, because again, those are your healthiest, most active years. Okay, number 5, the happiest retirees I know have solid relationships with other folks. And for a lot of us, particularly guys, but I know that this happens, like in my wife's case, she always has good friends at work. And she's really good about keeping in touch with her friends at work. But it's different once you leave, right? And so don't plan on your work friends being the foundation of your relationships. For most people, I shouldn't make a blanket statement like that. But for most of us, we want to be thinking about, how are we going to make friends? How are we going to have connections, social connections with other people? And just having that emotional support. If you have a spouse, if you have a significant other, if you have children, those are great sources of emotional support. But it's also nice to have that's emotional support, those relationships outside of family as well. So that's another key. Okay, and a huge one, a really important one, is to retire younger. It's a common theme in these studies. People that retire younger, and by younger I don't mean 30. I'm not talking about the FIRE movement, financially independent, retire early, FIRE. I'm talking about people in their 50s, 50, 55, 58, 59. When you retire early, you have more of your health, you have more of your energy, more of that the youth of your senior years excitement. So, and I hope you have excitement for watching this video up here that talks about the average income for retirees in America, and this video down here that talks about 5 reasons to retire as soon as you can. You already know one of those. Bye-bye.